Welcome in, y'all, to our tiny Lionsgate reading. I am T from Tiny Cheeks Tarot, coming in to pull some cards for you and with you. Today's reading is all about the Lionsgate portal. Lionsgate is a time where the Earth and the star Sirius are aligned. It also happens to happen during the astrological season of Leo when the sun is in Leo. And we're able to basically tap in and use this energy to bring abundance into our lives, bring fertility, but also for DNA activation, for connection with our ancestors and ancestral knowledge. So there's a couple things that you can do with the Lionsgate energy. Lionsgate technically peaks on 8/8. That's why it's called the 8/8 portal, but it starts in the end of July. Back in ancient Kemet, it actually started a little bit earlier in July than it does now, with the rotation of the sun, things like that, time. So it's a little bit later now, but basically it's between July 28th and August 12th. And in between that time, the energy is said to be more palpable because we're in alignment with the star. Because back in ancient Kemet and ancient Egypt, when Sirius would rise, it would also bring with it the rise of the Nile. And with the rise of the Nile, the waters would come over the banks, and there would be lots of richness and nutrients that would come with the waters that would help to prosper the land and bring clay and fertilize the plants and things like that. So that's part of why Lionsgate is seen as such a abundant time, as such a fertile time, and why we still kind of utilize the energy today. Within that, we have the connection with Sirius B and the ancestral connection with Sirius B. I'm not going to get super deep into it today, but if you want to look more into it, I would definitely say look into the knowledge that the Dogons have of Sirius A and B and what they believed about our ancestral connection with Sirius A and B. Within that, because we have that ancestral connection specifically, like I said, through that understanding, and very clearly for me, with Black people, specifically, I'm Black, y'all. So I wanted to, this is why I went the lens of ancestral guidance. You do not have to be Black to participate in this reading at all. I'm just explaining why I went towards ancestral gifts as opposed to like bringing in money or abundance or things like that. So today, these are the questions that we are going to break down. What ancestral gifts need to be reclaimed now? What ancestral knowledge needs to be remembered? And how the Lionsgate portal can help us integrate that energy. Okay. We have 3 different star cards here for you to pick from. I use the star cards because, again, we're dealing with Sirius. And so I wanted to bring in something that represented Sirius as opposed to like using the sun. So feel free, take a deep breath, close your eyes, get grounded, and pick whichever card is drawing you. Feel free to pick more than one pile if you're drawn to it. And then let's get into our reading. Welcome in, pile 1. Thank you for reading with me. You chose the star card from the Hoodoo Tarot deck, the grandchildren card. Choosing this card to me suggests that the ancestors that you may be closest to, or the elders that you may be closest to, are your closest grandparents, so your parents' parents, or their parents, like your great grandparents. And if not, close to them, then you may want to look more into them because it feels like they may be the closest ancestors to you right now, or those that are trying to like give you messages, or those that are around you the most right now. So looking into who they were, looking at pictures of them, where they're from, the places that they come from, the food that they ate, things they like, things like that might be beneficial right now. So let's get into your reading, starting with what ancestral gifts need to be reclaimed right now. So for this question, we're using the Hoodoo Tarot, which goes with the first card that you actually chose. And again, we're asking what ancestral gifts from your lineage need to be reclaimed right now for pile 1. So we're starting off with the Mother of Baskets and then the Garden card. Let's see if there's anything else. There's something up in there, but I'm not sure what that was. Let's go back. Anything? Yes. Okay. Okay. So we got a lot going on here. Starting off with the ancestral gifts that need to be reclaimed right now. The first card you have is the Mother of Baskets. The Mother of Baskets actually refers to, I'm not going to remember her name right now. Her first name is Rebecca, but I can't remember her last name right now. She was a root worker and psychic and conjure woman, and she actually is said to have created the Dream Book. So the Dream Book was a book that was used back in the day to help decipher what people's dreams meant. And it was also used to help people play the numbers. Before there was an actual state run lottery, you had the illegal numbers, right? And you had number runners, and this was big in Black communities, and it was also big in the Italian community. And so you had people that ran numbers, and this is how people played the lottery back in the day, right? And so you use the Dream Book to help you figure out what numbers to play for the day, and that would help you know, like how to win or what was going to come up. But it would also help you decipher your dreams, right? I actually have a Dream Book. Wait, I'm going to show you. So this is a Dream Book that I have. This is actually from 1991. They still sell these books. You can still get them. You can usually find them in like a old school lottery store, something like that. But just to give you an idea, it breaks down numerology, and it has different daily vibration numbers depending on the month, as well as, like I said, when you have a dream, you can go in and look at what you dreamed about and the numbers that correlate with that, either the pick 3 numbers or numbers that you would add to like a pick 5, pick 6, Powerball, Mega Millions kind of thing now that you would do. They didn't have that back in the day, but that's what you would do with that now. So part of the ancestral gifts that need to be reclaimed may be dream work, right? It may be luck work within playing the numbers, or like knowing when you're feeling lucky and utilizing that and playing the numbers, right? Or utilizing your dreams to play the numbers, right? That's also a part of it. You also have in this card a magical square, right? And so, excuse me, a planetary square. Or magical squares, planetary squares, it depends, different people call it different things. But this was used to basically, you would take the square and you would use it to create different sigils and do different magic with it. So part of what may need to be reclaimed is working with that kind of magic. Let me get the book so I can like explain a little bit more specifically about this type of working. Okay, so the Mother of Baskets this is actually, I apologize. Her name was not Rebecca at all. I don't know where the fuck I got Rebecca from. Okay, her name was Chloe Russell. So I apologize. She was the first author of the Hoodoo Dream Book. It said that Chloe was a Fulani woman born in 1745, who was abducted from Africa at the age of 9 and enslaved in Virginia. I actually remember hearing a story about the woman who wrote the first Dream Book, and I feel like she was from Boston or Massachusetts or something like that. So we may want to look into that a little bit. Maybe differing stories, maybe different people, maybe the same person. I may be remembering wrong. Doesn't matter. Anyway, planetary squares were popular with occultists for centuries, and as root workers began to have more access to Western occult knowledge, many began to incorporate them in their working. So she doesn't actually talk a lot about what planetary squares are. But like I said, planetary squares are used in workings to draw the energy from the planet that you're trying to work with, or from the energies that are associated with that planet. And you would use the square to basically, like I said, draw a sigil to use in whatever working you were doing. So again, The question we're asking is the ancestral gifts that need to be reclaimed. And so part of it may be dream work, part of it may be working with planetary squares, part of it may be working with sigils, part of it may be utilizing abundance and luck energy, right? So these are some of the things that may need to be reclaimed. We then have the garden card. And with the garden card, the thing that I'm getting that needs to be reclaimed is our connection with the earth, our connection with growing our own food, our connection with um, growing the plants that we work with, or our connection with knowing the plants that we work with intimately, not just getting the dried versions of and just throwing them in something. But like, if you're able to find the live plant, going and find the live plant. If you're able to find it in the woods, even better, you know what I mean? Oh, or be able to forage it yourself. Even if you're not able to, sitting with the plants and the herbs that you're working with, the fruits or whatever you're working with, but like actually sitting with them before you put them in something, right? So like, that's part of the energy that needs to be reclaimed, is like knowing these things intimately, knowing the plants intimately, knowing the fruit and the spices and the herbs and the resins and whatever you're working with that is of the earth, right? That's of nature, knowing it more intimately, right? That's part of what needs to be reclaimed right now. We also have the Five of Coins, and the Five of Coins is basically a person giving spiritual baths to people. Um, he is actually spitting alcohol onto them to cleanse them, or I'm assuming it's alcohol because that's usually what you use, maybe water. But part of the magical gifts that need to be reclaimed right now is purification, right? The knowing of when to cleanse yourself, when to cleanse your space, when to clear your roads, you know what I mean? The knowing of how to cleanse yourself, um, what that looks like, whether it's a bath or energetically or with fire, or um, knowing how to cleanse others. If you know, it was part of your ancestral line to, because this is somebody cleansing other people. If it's part of your ancestral line to help other people be cleansed, like that may be part of the gifts that we are reclaiming right now, right? There's also the people wearing white, so part of the gifts we may need to be reclaiming right now has to do with initiations, or walking, like I said, in a sense of purity, or walking in a spiritual walk, in a sense, in whatever sect, or like um, whatever that looks like, you know, whatever you're being drawn towards, that may also look like that. So that may also be what needs to be reclaimed. We have white and the Five of Coins card, the Garden card, and the Miss Ida card. Okay. And the Miss Ida card, again, Miss Ida is about a little girl who went to her attic for, I believe it was for like 9 days for 9 years or something like that. Let me not tell y'all falsehoods again. Okay. 7-year-old Miss Ida standing in her attic surrounded by candles. Ida from the Seven Sisters was just 7 years old when she recalled her self initiation process, which consisted of burning 7 candles all night while she prayed starting on the 1st of May and continuing for 6 consecutive nights. Okay, I wasn't. Okay. Miss Ida repeated this process each May for 7 years until the Holy Spirit told her she was ready to work for the community. So, again, the gifts that may need to be reclaimed right now may have to do with initiations, right? It may not have to do with just group initiations into something, but it may be self initiation. There is initiation involved with hoodoo that people do not talk about. So it may be initiation in terms of hoodoo or root work, you know what I mean? And you needing to sit with yourself and sit with your ancestors and really go inside and, um, wait to be moved or be shown what you need to be shown, or part of the reclaiming is the meditation of coming into yourself, so that when you come out of it, you have new enlightenment or new ways of seeing, so that they're able to give you more information or more access to this gifts or these gifts, right? The other thing was Miss Ida was doing work on behalf of the community. So again, there's this aspect of doing community work. Part of what may need to be reclaimed right now is doing work for others, not just yourself, not just your family, but doing work for people outside of yourself. Okay. So these are part of the gifts that may need to be reclaimed right now. Let's get into what ancestral knowledge needs to be remembered. Okay. So part of the ancestral knowledge that needs to be remembered for me is not just about the gifts, but about the things that we need to reclaim as people, right? Like there may be things that were so strong in our line that because of time and, you know, loss and things like that, we just don't know to remember, or we feel, but we don't sit in the way that we need to, right? And so that's part of why I asked what ancestral knowledge needs to be reclaimed. So let's see what we get. Okay. So we have the 3 of air and the 1 of water. Let's see. Is there anything else? Okay, strength and then the mountain card. The cards we have are Breeze, 3 of air, Koi Sing, Chinese god of scholarship, Fountain, 1 of water, Sin, Babylonian moon god, Strength, health. What you see outside you, you see inside you. It is visible and it is your garment. And Mountain, 8 of earth, Tai Hyo Tai Ti, Chinese emperor of the Eastern Peak. So the first things that I get for what ancestral knowledge needs to be remembered is there's a level of scholarship and learning and like a real like push for education and knowledge, especially spiritual knowledge and spiritual attainment, right? And really specifically spiritually, because we have the 3 of air over the strength card, which has the obelisk in it and the hieroglyphs. It also has this snake with the 3 heads, and the goat around her shoulders, which almost reminds me of like an offering, with the goat, the hieroglyphs, and the obelisk, calling back to the old world, old religion, old gods. You also have the 3 headed snake, which reminded me of old gods. So it feels like part of what needs to be remembered, part of the ancestral knowledge, is your ancestral spiritual practice and like their spiritual beliefs and the knowledge of like who they were, who their gods were, where they came from, right? It feels like there were definitely people in your family who may have been priests or um, shamans or like griots or someone who held the family history or the family knowledge, like, you know, someone who helped to pass it down, right? And that's part of the knowledge that's trying to be remembered or trying to be pushed back to you right now. Okay. There's also the idea of just wanting more understanding of who you are, where you come from. um, Part of that can look like research, looking into who your family is, whether that's through like Family Search, which is a free website you can use for ancestral research, or if you have Ancestry, if that's available to you, or newspaper.com or findagrave.com. Any of these are resources and looking into your ancestral lineage, where your people come from. If you know where they come from and you don't know specifically like names or things like that, you can also look at the place. You can look at you know, customs of those people or the culture of the people in different times and things like that. That can help you find information about who your ancestors are, who they come from, who they may have worshipped, where they may have worshipped, what they believe, things like that. Okay. We also have, like I said, this ancient aspect of it coming in with the 1 of water, the Babylonian moon god, right? So it just lends to me this energy of like, and when I say ancient, I mean, I don't necessarily mean like thousands of years ago. I more so mean, you know, things that were lost. So that could have been as short a time span as like 50 years ago, or, you know, or more, you know. Um, again, we then have the fountain, the one of water card, and over the mountain card. So part of what that gives me in terms of the ancestral knowledge that needs to be remembered is this remembrance of um, being able to always have stability, this remembrance of there were ancestors who were able to draw on this energy to have continuity, to have consistent opportunities or wealth, or to be able to take care of their families or whatever it is they needed to take care of, right? So it feels like part of what needs to be remembered is the knowledge um, of foundation, of the knowledge of security and stability. And I feel like that's part of also why we got the luck energy in terms of like working with the gifts that we have to work with are like, this abundance, wealth, luck energy, and I feel like that's part of why we got that, is because of part of the knowledge that needs to be remembered is that there there were people that were stable, there were people that always had, there were people that knew how to maintain and to make shit happen, right? And that's part of the knowledge that needs to be remembered. And that could also be seen if you do the research. You may be able to find that, like, if you're looking through things and you see that somebody owned their house and the 1800s or something like that, that's rare, especially for Black people, you know what I mean? So that shows you that there was wealth, if they had, if they weren't if they were free people during a time when there was enslavement or something like that, you know what I mean? Like, these are things that can show you wealth. If they had a farm, or if they had acres, if they weren't enslaved people, like, there are certain things that you can see in ancestral records that will show you that, like, people were more well off than you thought they were, or that they went to school, or, like, you know what I mean? There's certain things like that. So that's part of the knowledge I feel like they're calling in for us to remember right now. Let's get into how the energy of Lionsgate can help us integrate the gifts and this knowledge that we just talked about. Let's get into how the energy of Lionsgate can help us integrate the gifts and the knowledge that we just talked about. So we have the Grounded card, the New Life card, and the Nature Spirits card. So I apologize, when I pulled these cards, for whatever reason, it was not recording, so I didn't get to show y'all the shuffle. But um, getting into the cards, the Grounded cards, the first thing that I thought of with how we can integrate the energy is by utilizing this time to ground into ourselves, to meditate, to utilize the frequency of the earth, which is also the same frequency of Sirius, right? If you're somebody who utilizes sound frequencies, 7.83 is also called the Schumann resonance. It's the resonance of the earth, or the frequency of the earth. And from my research that I've done, it's the same frequency of Sirius A. So part of how we can utilize this energy is meditating with that frequency, right? Either sitting and intentionally being quiet and meditating on just that frequency, or, excuse me, playing it in the background to help engage, or like imbue ourselves with that energy, imbue our spaces with that energy. We also have just like grounding in general. So getting outside, because we also have the nature spirits, putting your feet in the grass, putting, your whole body in the grass, laying in the sand, or the standing in the sand, standing by the water, specifically a river, because Lionsgate is related to the Nile and the riverbanks, right? So either going to the riverbanks, utilizing that energy, meditating there, grounding there, doing workings there could also be a thing. We also have the New Life card. So to me, part of that is just the initiation of it, just starting, right? Starting to do the things that we just talked about during this time, starting to look into things we talked about during this time, starting to um, just do anything and allow them to lead you to where you need to go, because the fact that you're watching this is the start, right? You're already in alignment with where you need to be. So just continue to leave yourself open and want to do more, and you'll be able to. Within that, you have the Ankh on the New Life card. And so I think part of that, how we can integrate this, is learning more about maybe Kemet or ancient Egypt, learning more about Kemetic practices or ancient Egyptian gods, learning more about African spirituality, if that's within your lineage. All of these things learning about the Dogon, because like I talked about earlier, their knowledge of Sirius goes back thousands and thousands of years. And so learning more about these things can help you integrate these gifts in ways that you may not even realize right now, right? In ways that I can't even tell you right now. It'll just open things up. And so that's part of how we can utilize this energy of Lionsgate to bring in these gifts to learn more about this. I feel like just starting it, connecting with the nature spirits, quieting our minds, grounding into ourselves will help us to have things just like fire off for us. Okay, so I hope that this makes sense. Please let me know if you have any questions about anything that we talked about, anything that has to do with Lionsgate. I'm here to answer whatever you need. Comment, DM me. And if you have another pile, I will see you there. If not, thank you so much for reading with me. I will see you in the next reading. Welcome in pile 2 to your Lionsgate portal reading. You picked the star card from the Elemental Tarot. Based on this card, I would say that you definitely have a connection with spirit, right? You may see spirit or hear spirits or have a real connection with angels. You may also feel closer to like a celestial spiritual team or specific spirits or deities than you feel to your bloodline ancestors, just based on the look and the feel of this card. You may also already have a connection with um, like mediumship, or it's beyond empathic. So it feels like a celestial connection, right? The Hope card says, I am substance and one who has no substance. Do not be ignorant of me. So very much giving spirit, celestial energy. Let's get into what ancestral gifts need to be reclaimed right now. Okay. Oh. Okay, so we have the Mother of Coins, the Mother of Baskets, the Five of Coins, and the Eight of Knives. It's interesting because we had the Mother of Baskets and the Five of Coins in pile 1. So I'd be interested to see if you are from pile 1 as well, or if you were interested in pile 1 at all. But getting into the ancestral gifts that need to be reclaimed, the first thing that pops out immediately is dream work, right? The Mother of Baskets, the woman on the card is Chloe Russell. She is the author of the Dream Book. I showed the Dream Book in the last pile. I will show y'all. The Dream Book is a book that was used to help predict numbers for the day. It was you would basically ask your family what they dreamed about. You would then go in the dream book and look up what they dreamed about. Let's say they dreamed about limes, and you would use the either 3-digit numbers or the 3-digit, 2-digit numbers to add to your pickings or your picks for the day. Excuse me, your pickings. Anyway, and so there's a heavy emphasis in this poll on dream work, right? Part of your gifts is listening to your dreams, is utilizing your dreams, is paying attention to what happens to your dreams, is being able to decipher dreams and or being able to like do astral work, astral projection, going into the astral space and making things happen, or talking to people, or connecting with your ancestors there, or something like that. Like the dream work is heavy, heavy, heavy in this reading, right? The Mother of Coins is laying in bed with animals and she has lavender around her. And it feels like there is a way that your ancestors were able to, like I said, intentionally dream walk, and that there's a way that you're able to, and part of you being able to attain ancestral knowledge is within the dream space. Okay, so I need y'all to start writing down your dreams. Do not pee before you write down your dream. I don't care if it makes sense to you, y'all. This is, I will die on this hill. Okay, this is my hypothesis. It's true. I just know it. It's just what it is. Okay, the water, the conduit is the water, and when you pee, all the information goes away. I don't know why. I don't know why it's true. It's just true. Okay, just listen to me. Just do it. Okay. Anyway, um, also within that, it feels like there's a connection to animals, right? It's given like Dr. Doolittle energy. So like part of your ancestral gifts that need to be reclaimed is a connection to animals, maybe being able to talk to animals, being able to heal animals, being able to intimately um, feel into them. Or like for me, one of the gifts that I have is that I'm sometimes able to see through animals' eyes, which is something interesting that I cannot do all the time. But that may be something you want to look more into. You know what I mean? So that's part of what I'm getting for these two things. We also had the Five of Coins, which, like I said, was in the first pile that we had as well. So there's gifts around purity, spiritual cleansings, spiritual baths, making um, doing those workings for other people. There's a communal aspect of this. This person is helping and cleansing these other people. So there's also a leadership aspect. So part of the gifts that may need to be reclaimed is you being a leader in a spiritual space, or being the lead or mentor in your family in terms of spiritual practices and spiritual beliefs, and having everybody be on one accord and understand things and things like that. We also have the Eight of Knives, and the Eight of Knives is this person at the crossroads. So part of the work that may need to, part of the gifts that may need to be reclaimed is working with spirits at the crossroads, working with the crossroads man, looking into the equivalent of that within your ancestral lineage or your culture. You know what I mean? And learning more about that. Um, This may also deal with graveyard work. Okay, so that just came up to me. So, yes, these are the things that come up in terms of the ancestral gifts that we're reclaiming right now. Let's get into the ancestral knowledge that needs to be remembered. Okay, for the ancestral knowledge that needs to be remembered, we are using the Elemental Tarot. The first deck we used was the Hoodoo Tarot for the first question. And we are just going to see what knowledge needs to be remembered right now. Again with the same card. Y'all saw me shuffle. We got that card in pile one. The cards we have are Mountain, Eight of Earth, Tai Yu Tai Ti, Chinese Emperor of the Eastern Peak, 2, Virgin, Receptivity, I am shame and boldness, I am shameless, and I am ashamed. Open Air, 6 of Air, Hermes, Greek god of eloquence and travelers, 9 of Air, Jamala, Finnish god of thunder, and Mother of Earth, Jeremiah, the earth in winter. So the first things that I got for the knowledge that needs to be remembered is that there was knowledge, your ancestors had a knowledge of the earth that we don't have anymore. They had a connection to the earth and nature that would let them know when things would happen before they would happen, right? The receptivity is giving, like, almost like us using our intuition, but not just utilizing your intuition, utilizing the signs and the omens and the things around them, right? They were able to tell by how the birds flew or by how the animals ran a certain way that something was coming, or that, you know, by how crops grew towards this way or that way, that there would be a certain amount of rain or things like that, right? And there's a the knowledge of that is missing, right? And it's still vital to us. We may not realize that it's vital to us because we are so inundated with technology and Western thought, but there's a way in which you need to remember your ancestral connection with nature and omens and signs, and to start paying attention to those things, right? It also feels like there's this idea of the knowledge of utilizing, like, beings higher than yourself, right? In all three of these cards on the bottom, we have these like larger than life figures, right? You have this person sitting on the world. You have the mother of earth who has these two figures within her. You then have the nine of air, the finished god, where you have these people who are praising this person in the sky, right? And so it feels like they're part of the knowledge is the knowing that there are beings higher than ourselves that can help us more than we ever could, right? So you have your ancestors, and then you have larger spirits, right? Larger beings, larger entities that have more power, that have more movement, things like that, right? And so it's like all of these things in conjunction. Part of what your ancestors' knowledge is telling you is to utilize spirits higher than yourselves. Part of that is knowing who they may have utilized and worked with, right? And again, part of that is the receptivity and the being open, like we talked about before, to receiving this information so that you can be moved to, you know, to be guided to who these spirits are, and then taking that to your ancestors to be reassured or to confirm that that is who they worked with, you know. And part of that is in the receptivity of understanding how they speak to you, and so knowing when you get that clarity or that confirmation. Okay, another part of the knowledge that needs to be remembered is that, like, things are so much bigger than you know, right? Like, there's so much more knowledge to be attained, there's so much more life to see, and part of the knowledge that needs to be attained is the exploring of things, right? If you're able to literally travel, or if you're just able to explore different worlds, different cultures, different foods, different things will bring you to a place that feels like you'll see something or eat something or hear something that brings an ancestral memory back to you. Okay, and that's part of how this knowledge can be attained, is opening up your world, okay, to bigger things. And I feel like I said, with the mountain card, I feel like the mountain card just goes within in this pile. Even though it came out in the first pile, I feel like in this pile it goes within the energy of the knowledge of the earth, the knowledge of elemental energy, the knowledge of nature, the knowledge of just where you come from, literally the places that your family came from, what those landscapes look like, what that land looked like, what the dirt looked like, you know, what grows there, things like that. So I feel like this is part of the ancestral knowledge that needs to be remembered. Let's get into how the energy of Lionsgate can help us integrate the gifts and the knowledge that we just talked about. For this question, we are using the Sacred Symbols Oracle deck. And let's get into how the energy of Lionsgate can help us integrate the things that we just talked about. I always want to give us a plan of like action or how to do things, not just a report of what's going on. So, boom. Magic, yes. And then again with these same cards, it's, y'all, guys, okay. So part of how we integrate the energy is by sitting in our magical practice, right? What does your magical practice look like? Does that look like petition work? Does that look like prayers? Does that look like affirmations? Does that look like candles? Does that look like crystals? Does that look like burial work? Does that look like divination? Whatever that looks like, that I just named a few things. I could have kept going. Okay. Whatever that looks like, part of how we integrate this energy is by utilizing our magic within this time. That's doing magical workings, that's enhancing our practice, that's getting into our like magical research, or getting into our like groups, with getting with people that we do workings with, things like that, right? So that's part of how we can utilize this. And don't overthink the magic, right? Whatever you're called to do, just do that. You don't need a whole bunch of shit, you know what I mean? Because the energy is already aligned for whatever you're trying to do to be enhanced. So all you have to do is just do it, okay? And part of the grounded card to me is like just doing it. You know what I mean? Grounding into the magic, sitting into what you're doing, literally doing it, being focused on what you're doing, not questioning it, but just, like being led, being confident in that the fact that you're even were brought here means that you're on the right path, and that the things you're thinking are correct, and that if you were supposed to do something different, or if you are called to do something different, you'll know. You know what I mean? You also have guides, and so part of how we can integrate this energy is by calling on our guides, is by listening and connecting with our spiritual team, with our ancestors, with the spirits that you work with or that you're closest to. That means sitting at your altars, that means meditating, that means calling them in, that means talking to them. Whatever that means for you and how you connect with your guides, that could be, like I said, through music or books in terms of divination, or like literally throwing cards, whatever that looks like for you. During this time, it's definitely a time to do that. Again, this is a timeless reading. So when you see this message is for you. And also if it's within, before August 13th or so, and I would even say till the 14th, then this is definitely a time for you to utilize this energy. Okay. Part of also how you can integrate Sirius energy is by utilizing the hertz that relate to the Sirius star frequency. The hertz that relate to the frequency are also the same hertz that relate to the earth frequency, the Schumann resonance, which is 7.83 hertz. So you can play that in the background. You can go outside like pre-dawn and see Sirius if it's within this period of time. Because we're in the alignment of it, you can just go outside in general in this period of time, or just, um, sit with and align with the energy of it, because again, we are in such close alignment to Sirius right now, as we talked about in the beginning. So these are all the ways I feel like we can most integrate the energy of Sirius to attain those gifts and that knowledge right now. If you have any questions about your reading, please let me know. Any questions, any comments, definitely put them down below. DM me if you want to, if you have any questions about Lionsgate or anything like that. Thank you so much for reading with me. If you picked another pile, I will see you there. If not, I will see you in the next reading. Welcome in pile 3 to your Tiny Lionsgate portal reading. You picked the gratitude card, which I chose as the star card from the Sacred Oracle deck. There technically isn't a star card in that deck, but I felt like the candle and the light on the gratitude card brought the same energy that the star card normally brings. So part of what I feel like when I look at this card for you in terms of gifts is, part of your ancestral gift is that you are a light. You yourself are a light. And you may not recognize that in some cases. Some people don't. Some people definitely do and may not feel like you're shining your brightest right now. But regardless of, you definitely are a light. You're a light being. You're a source of light. And that's part of what you get from your lineage. Let's get into what ancestral gifts need to be reclaimed right now. For this question, we are using the Hoodoo Tarot. Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. I'll put this here. Okay, so right off the bat, part of the ancestral gifts that need to be reclaimed right now are your gifts in protection, right? This is the Ten of Knives. The Ten of Knives is a person who is being unalived for putting a conjure on somebody and kind of turning them crazy, and that person's family getting revenge on them, right? And so part of, and again, we're talking ancestral, right? So part of what I'm getting from this is part of your ancestral gifts is your ability to be able to protect those around you. Part of your ancestral gifts are your ability to lay a fiery wall, or to, put down a working, to send some shit back, or to keep yourself and others safe. That's part of your magic. Okay, for sure, part of your magic that came out first. Okay. We also have the Nine of Baskets, and so part of your ancestral gifts is your ability to receive, your ability to call in, your ability to manifest and to bring in. You may not even recognize that, but like that's something that people in your lineage had heavily. Maybe not everybody, but it came out enough for it to be something that is palpable enough for you to be able to call in, or for you to be able to reclaim, because that's what we're asking. So there's definitely energy there for you to be able to reclaim. Like, it feels like uh, almost like glamour magic, like people wanting to give you things, or to sustain you, or to help you. You know what I mean? There's also energy here of abundance and wealth and luck energy. So there's energy there to, it just feels like to have, to bring in, to just like somebody that can just like make shit happen. They're part of the ancestral gift, may be the ability to make shit happen in whatever way, and it feels like either calling it in through your mind, or being able to speak it with your words, you know what I mean, and make shit happen. The other thing we have is the big house. And the energy of the big house in terms of gifts is part of your gifts are your ability to be able to see shit clearly. Like, even if things are skewed, or if other people can't see somebody or something for what it is, it feels like part of your ancestral gift is to be able to see through the bullshit, or to be able to see behind somebody's mask, right? In some cases, that may be literal, where you're able to see, other beings behind the shell of what they're trying to appear to be, if you feel what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Or that may be something that you've heard that somebody in your family could do. And my head, something just touched my head. That was interesting. So yeah, that's the thing. Okay. Part of the gifts that need to be reclaimed right now is your ability to see shit clearly, to be able to take masks off of things, to be able to see behind. It's almost like see behind the walls, you know, to be able to see behind the walls. That's how clear and sharp your vision is. That's how clear and sharp your ancestral vision is. Okay. So that's also a thing. Then we have the mother of sticks at the bottom. And part of the mother of sticks energy in terms of the gifts just again lends me to this powerful, it feels like not necessarily conjure energy, but it just feels like I said, with this glamour magic energy. It feels, again, it just reinforces that part of what needs to be reclaimed now is your power, right? There's a certain power that your ancestors had, a certain royalty, a certain air, that when they walked in places, people moved, or people looked, or people listened, right? And that's part of what I feel like needs to be reclaimed in your magic and in your gifts, is your power, is your knowing of your own power, is your knowing of the power that you come from, okay? And the sitting in that. So these are part of the ancestral gifts I feel like need to be reclaimed right now. Let's see what knowledge needs to be remembered. For the ancestral knowledge that needs to be remembered, we are using the Elemental Tarot. Okay, so we have clay, 4 of earth, bochicha, Colombian creator god, confidence, trickster, I am knowledge and I am ignorance, I am falsehood and I am truth. We also have 6, choice, passion. Whatever I will happens to me. So, ancestral knowledge that needs to be remembered. Again, we already talked about this in terms of the choice and the passion. Whatever I will happens to me. Part of the ancestral knowledge that needs to be remembered is like when people wanted to make some shit happen, they did, right? There were people in your line that definitely were go-getters. There were people in your line that definitely were able to turn pennies into dollars, into gold bars kind of energy. You know what I mean? That's part of where I feel like this trickster energy comes in. Again, it's that energy of the confidence and knowing yourself and knowing, what you say is going to work or what you do is going to work. And so you just go for it, right? Like that's part of this trickster energy. The trickster in this deck is also what would be the traditional magician in another deck, right? Part of the knowledge that needs to be remembered is the finesse of it, right? Like, um, you're able to see things clearly, and so there's this not rigidity, but there's this straightness to your energy, right? But part of the knowledge that needs to be remembered is that like there's more than one way to skin a cat, is what they just said in my head, right? And like, um, there are ways in which you can charm or finesse life or situations that you're not utilizing right now, and that's part of the energy that needs to come in. I am knowledge and I am ignorance, I am falsehood and I am the truth, right? It's not saying to lie. I feel like that's not what they're saying, but like, um if you think of tricksters in stories like a Brer Rabbit energy, like, or an Anansi energy, they always end up on top, and it's about how they think about things and their perception and how they move. And that's part of what helps them to, get through life or to get to a better situation or to have what they want or whatever that is. So I feel like that's part of the knowledge that needs to be remembered right now. You then have the clay, and again there's this energy of like forming, making happen what you want, right? And the clay just reinforces that for me. Part of the knowledge that needs to be remembered is that you are the creator of your world, of your life, and there are people in your um, lineage and your spiritual team that knew that and know that and utilize that, and there are ways in which you need to utilize that energy, okay? And remembering that you can actually do that and the ways that you can actually do that, is the start of that. Part of that looks like, for some people, looking into their ancestors and seeing that they had when other people didn't have, or they were able to get out of certain circumstances and move to another place when there were seemingly no options. Or for some people, that may look like, I had a thought in my head and then it just went away. Yeah, for some people that may look like how their ancestors were able to move out of a oppressive regime or move from a place of oppression, and remembering that, right? Remembering that if they're able to do that in that situation, then I'm able to make happen whatever it is that I want to make happen as well, right? So that's part of what I get from the ancestral knowledge that needs to be remembered. Let's see how we can integrate the energy of Lionsgate to attain these gifts and the knowledge that we just talked about. Okay, so we're using the Sacred Symbols Oracle deck to get into how we can integrate the energy of Lionsgate to receive the gifts that we just talked about. Okay. Okay. Good fortune, trust, and magic. So part of how we can integrate this energy of the Lionsgate portal is by leaning into the fertility energy, the abundance energy, by doing workings to bring things in, by doing workings to bring in opportunities, by doing um, petitions and prayers, and that's whatever workings look like to you, to bring in more, to bring in alignment with whatever it is that looks like fortune or wealth, or what you want to birth kind of energy, right? Lionsgate relates to the Nile, like we talked about in the beginning of the reading, and the fertility that comes from the nutrients um, of the bank of the Nile onto the land, right? That floods the land and fertilizes the plants and things like that. And so there's this energy of being able to bring more into your life to be able to fertilize your life. That within the trust card, it feels like part of utilizing this Lionsgate energy looks like trusting the process of the magic of the energy, right? You may want to like do something and you set it and forget it, right? Part of the energy may look like you just sitting in the abundance of the energy, or like sitting in the goodness of that energy, and that being the work or the magic that you do. Um, it may also look like paying attention to the magic that's around you, whether that's the energy that you feel or things that are actually happening, or trusting that everything will go as you want it. So, like almost jujuing your days, where you like wake up and you say, okay, this is going to happen to me today, and then that's going to happen, and blah, 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 which aligns with the good things that you want, and trusting that that will happen within the magic that you put into the day, right? Or within the magic that is already palpable within the energies that you're just feeding into and giving a direction where to go, So that's part of how I feel like we can integrate the energy of Lionsgate. The Good Fortune card also has the moon and the water droplets on it. So I feel like you can utilize the energy of the moon if you're watching this around the time of Lionsgate. That I'm doing this 8 August 7th, 2025. Then there is a full moon um, this in 2 days, I believe, on the 9th. I want to say August 9th. There's a full moon. It's either on the 9th or the 12th. There's a full moon soon. So you may want to integrate the energies of the Lionsgate energy with the energy of the full moon to do some workings with that. You may want to just meditate with the moon. You may want to also, like I talked about before, sit with the waters. You could specifically sit with rivers, or doing specific baths around this time. Could also help. Again, this is a timeless reading, so if you're watching this not around Lionsgate, this is still things that you may want to integrate and do, and you can still integrate that Lionsgate energy by utilizing 7.83 hertz, which is the frequency of Sirius and is also the frequency of the Earth. It's called the Schumann resonance. So that's also a way that you can call in or align with the energy of Sirius all the time, even when we're not in alignment with Sirius directly. So these are the ways I feel like we can integrate the knowledge and the gifts. Also within this, I wanted to say real quick, in the magic card, we have the pentagram. So make sure whatever you're doing, you're also putting in protections, right? You're making sure that you protect yourself and your space, especially if you're sitting in a space of like calling in good things or like sitting in good energy. That's kind of sometimes a light for misdirection or things that don't want that, right? So just make sure you're bubbling yourself up or adding in protections to the workings that you're doing. So, like I said, this is how I feel like we can integrate the energy of Lionsgate to enhance and receive these gifts and retain and remember this knowledge. If you have any questions about anything, definitely let me know. Leave a comment about what you feel about the reading. DM me if you have any questions. Thank you so much for letting me read with you. If you were in any other piles, thank you so much. Let me know how these all matched up. And follow, like, share, subscribe, and I will see you in our next reading. Thank y'all so much for reading with me.